Hi, this is Ashton, and I'm going to talk about my homeless experience. And I didn't really like it. It was a life learning lesson to say. Um, I remember, let's see where it started was I was accepted to the San Francisco Art Institute for film directing, and I went there for a couple of weeks, and I was withdrawn from my mom. I guess she couldn't afford what they were sending her at the time. I wasn't old enough to pay for it myself. And it was just depressing because it was just like I had to leave school. And um, so finally, I was homeless in San Francisco and I didn't know where to go. It was a big city. I was lost, but luckily I found the homeless shelter and I stayed there for a little bit and I didn't like it at all. I seen all the buses pass by of the schools and it was just like my dreams, seeing my dreams just fade away from me. And um so I went to this church and they helped me get a ticket back to Merced. So I came back. It was around nighttime and I got back to the house and I thought I was going to stay with my mom because I had nowhere else to go. And she closed the door on my face. And so I got mad. I threw away all my clothes, everything I was carrying. I threw it away. I threw away my high school diploma. I threw away my trophies, my awards. I threw away everything. And, I just was homeless in Merced and it was horrible because, you know, I would never think I would end up like that. And all the family that I did have, they really couldn't do anything for me. So it was really depressing. Um, I didn't know where to go and I was just lost. So I got to the shelter in the Merced and, um, I really didn't talk to anybody because they were strangers and it was nobody I really clicked with to be friends with. So I kind of stuck to myself. And I would stand outside every day in the morning because they kick you out like 7 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm standing outside, just standing there. Cars would pass by and I would avoid looking at them. And I wasn't asking for anything, I was just standing. And people would drive by, give me money, give me lunch. And, they must have seen something in me to just want to help. And it kind of took me by surprise. And so I went through a mind experience because I thought I can leave to Oregon and get a job probably at the Fisherman's Dock or something like that. And I thought I can leave once again from Merced and go make something out of myself. Well, that didn't work out because that was by the coast. So it was freezing. And I had about three hoodies on. And luckily, I had enough money to stay at a hotel for one night. And I had no food. I had a dollar bag of trail mix, and that's all I had to eat. And I was just freezing, and it didn't work out. They didn't have nobody hiring, so you couldn't get a job. I went to WorkNet plenty of times, and right after that day of the hotel, I went to the homeless shelter because I had met this girl driving on her bike. And she goes, there's a homeless shelter. You need a place to stay. And I go, yeah. And so we get in there and they have all these rules. You have to go to church. You have to look for a job 7 days through the week. Um, it was just like, wow. So I took a bus ride, went around Oregon. I didn't know my way around, so I had to take the bus. I was just looking out the window and went to WorkNet, try looking for a job, and I get back to the shelter and they go, "You're gonna have to leave because you came back late." And I go, "Well, I took the bus and I didn't know where I was going, so I had to find a way back here." And So that was the end of that. And I was just outside at night, freezing my ass off. There was slugs crawling on me. And I went to the shop and I asked if I could use their phone, and they go, "This phone only calls out to 3-digit numbers." So I finally got a cell phone call from this one lady, and well, I used her cell phone basically, and she goes, "Well, you need a place to stay," and she was strange, like just a stranger, and I go, "Yeah," and then so she gives me a ride, and we go through the woods, and there's a cabin, so they live in like a cabin, and she was just like, "You hungry?" And she fixed me some chicken tenders and grilled cheese sandwich with honey mustard. And I was just like, "Thank you," like, because who would take me in, a complete stranger, and trust me to be in their house with them? So it was kind of strange. And, I just told them a little bit about my life and what I was going through. My mind was going through some kind of changes. It was causing me to like hear voices and like just really go through stuff. So I went out back. They have a porch out back, and I was just hoping for something, like for something to happen. So I was looking up at the sky, and I'm just staring up at the sky, and my neck is getting a cramp, and I just keep looking up, and all of a sudden it starts to rain, and the rain just drops on my face, and it was like a sign. And so I went back in the house, and they said they would be willing to help me out to get me a ticket back to Merced. And so that's what happened. I came back to Merced and I was homeless again. And luckily, I was taken to Marie Greens, which is a mental health place for recovery. And I went through the crisis stabilization. They put me on medicine. I um, like told them what I was going through, and they marked me with schizoaffective disorder and anxiety, depression, all the stuff that comes with it. And um, it was really hard to feel like I was labeled something. Like people had to be looking and acting different towards me because of me having a mental illness. So um, that was something else to learn from. And I still, after that, I was done with going through the crisis stabilization. I was still homeless, and I would just stand outside in front of the place, and the workers would come outside, and they would try to get me to come in, like, "You want water?" Once again, it was 100-degree weather. I was standing with three hoodies on, and I was dehydrated out my mind. I wasn't right. And finally, I trusted them, and they said, "You need a 5150." So they put me in the stabilization again, and I went through the whole process. And I met a program called Turning Point, and they really helped me, because they got me a place to stay. I was staying at a rooming board, and at rent at 650, and they were paying for it. And all I needed to do was go to the wellness center, go get recovery, go to groups, and things will be paid for. So it was a blessing. And I remember um, really looking back on how I ended up like helped, saved in a way. Like so it was really a blessing. And it's really hard to talk about this kind of stuff, but I'm talking about it because I feel I have to or I want to. And so yeah, once I decided I want my own apartment, they helped me set up for all that stuff. I got the housing and all that good stuff, and I became independent. And now I'm paying them back for what they helped pay for me. So I'm at a point right now where I live on my own. I have my own apartment, and I'm just blessed that I ended up really on my feet again. And all the family that came back into my life, they're kind of impressed that I can do this and that I was able to. And it's hard looking them in the face sometimes because I remember them not being able to help me and no one to turn to. So uh, that's just a little bit about my life. There's plenty more details, other spaces and gaps in the story that I could fill in with the rest of the stuff that happened. But I just told you the main points, and so now like my recovery is good. I was told I was one of the most success stories there, and I just want to keep making a way for myself. I'm finding my talents and the abilities I have, and I want to share them with the world. So thank you for listening.